Okay, so welcome everybody to our Introduction to the Internet of Things class and Connecting Things class. I've got some kind of a cool thing here. I've got pardon my ugly hands, but they are what they are. I've got the Cana kit. So this is the components for the Cana kit, part of them anyway. And what I was going to do is, I'll make sure I got my recording going on. I do. I was going to go ahead and kind of show you the different parts. Now this is the Raspberry Pi that comes with a Cana kit, and this one is completely unset up, so there's nothing to it that's been set up. So we're actually going to go in and I'm going to try to stick the heat sinks on and everything. So here's a little heat sink that goes on one of the chips here. So let me go ahead and pull this off. And again, pardon my bad hands, but it is what it is. I can at least use them, which is a miracle. So I'm gonna go in here and stick this onto this little chip right here. And if you want to do this, follow along with your Cana kit, please do. This is obviously a little heat sink just to pull heat off of that particular chip, and then this is going to go on the CPU to give a little bit of a heat sink on it. And I'm going to put them just from OCD-ness, I'm going to put them where they both match. Move this over. All right. Now inside of the Cana kit, one of the cool things it does ship with is this is the Raspberry Pi, so that's what the Raspberry Pi was in. So this is Model B, but it ships with a little plastic box you can put the entire Raspberry Pi into. One of the things that, just real quick to save you the time of not being as dumb as me, is when you put this in, you take the kit apart or take the plastic shell apart. But when you go to put this in, make sure you slide underneath these two little hooks here. So you slide it, and it's, I can get up here where you can see a little bit better, but you see there's two little hooks that you slide your Raspberry Pi under, and then you can put it down inside of the here. And at that point, once it's slid in that way, you can actually put the case on, and you've got your Raspberry Pi sitting in this case. Now the cool thing that ships with our Raspberry Pi is this, let's see what they call it, Cana kit expansion board, Cana kit Gpio board breakout kit. And it shows you how dumb I am. I wasn't exactly sure what this thing's supposed to be, but it ships with this entire breadboard, but it also ships with this little breakout kit. And what you do with it, if you'll notice, it has a positive and negative side, but you can slide it onto this breakout board or pop it down in this breakout board, and you'll have +3 volts on one side, you'll have +5 volts on the other, and it allows you to map out all the different pins inside or onto this, so that you won't have to leave your Raspberry Pi external. Okay, so it's kind of cool. It lets you do that. The other thing that's neat is once you do that, you should be able to place this cable into here. Okay, or actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it like that, but you also can then put this cable into here, and you'll be able to shut the kit itself. So you can actually, I'm going to pull this apart here just because it's in my way, but I should be able to take and place this here. I'm going to bring it out here where I can see it because I'm old. Once that's done, you can, I should be able to.
So on the breadboard, is there only one way for the pins? Does it matter where you place it, or there's a specific spot for it?
Well,
so that was,
you could do it on either side. What I did was when I put it in is I made sure that I was on the left-hand side. Well, it really doesn't matter. It's 1 to 50 on each side pretty much. But what I made sure was is when I put mine on is that the negative side was on the blue and the positive side was on the red. So if you look the way I put it, the side I put it on, You've got the 3 volts positives on the red rail. The negative 3 volt is on the blue rail. Same thing over here on this side. I had the positive on the red rail and the blue was the other. And then when you do that, I mean, you could slide it in as far as you wanted to, but I just put it on the very first. Let me go ahead and take it off. I can kind of at least pull it up and you can see a little bit better.
Yeah, no, yeah, thank you.
But see what I'm saying? I just
All
put it right there on the very first hole.
Yeah.
And then
Kelly, I have a question. Where did you say you got that? Because my Canna kit doesn't have it in it.
What? It doesn't have it in it. Which kind of kit did you buy?
I went and picked up one that the college had. I've got the Canna kit.
This is the Ultimate 32 kit, so that may be why you don't have it.
That's why I don't have it.
Okay. Yeah, the Ultimate kit comes with this Gpio board.
Okay.
You don't have to have it. I mean, the only thing really, the biggest thing it allows us to do is we can set it up like this to where we can have a cable coming out of the Raspberry Pi, and then we can just put the we can come in here like this. Well, I said I could anyway. And you don't have to try to plug little cables down inside of here. Inside.
Yeah, because that gets to be a pain.
Right. You know, it's a pain to try to put the cables in here with the male or the female connectors in here. Well, with this, you can basically just take it out to the breadboard.
Okay.
So that's the big thing for that. Now, what I want to do is I do want to actually go through the process here. So here's our 32 gig card. So I'm gonna, and again, I'm flying without a net here, folks. So if this blows up my face, it does. The worst thing happening is it'll be corrupted, and then I have to fight it like I did last time. But here's our little card, and inside of your Canna kit should be a USB dongle that you can slide in the SD card. So now I'm gonna have to get up and walk over here to my computer and plug it in. I'm here. I haven't left you yet. Still working to get this plugged in because I read a joke about the guy who invented USB died, and they wanted to know if when they put him in the coffin, if they had to put it in the ground, then turn it over and try to put it in the ground again. Because I don't think anybody's ever successfully actually placed a USB drive in the right way the first time ever in the history of humanity. All right, so I've set my board up. Now, if you don't have this, you don't have to use this board. You can very easily use, in your kit, you should have both. You should have these. You should have female to male connectors that can be used for a lab we're going to do here in a few minutes. We're going to try the LED lab. But the big thing right now is just to go ahead and get your Canna kit or get your Raspberry Pi into your kit if you've got. Now, Susan, does yours have this little box?
Yeah, mine's got a little box in it.
Okay.
I'll show you what I use.
Yeah, go ahead and you can pull up your, you can turn your video if you want to so we can see it.
In my classes that I use this kit for,
Okay.
I've actually created these
Oh, that
little
works.
boxes
Okay.
that have all the LEDs and things that I need for any particular lab.
Okay.
That way I can collect them and they don't walk off as easy.
Yeah, very good idea. Excellent idea. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over to share a screen. And hey, Tyrone, how are you? I'm going to jump over to, I'm going to pull the PL app up and I'm going to move it over to this screen because it's better for all of us. So I'm going to share screen 2. So here's the PL app. I've downloaded it, and by the way, if you don't know where it's at, it is just when you go into this lab 2225, you download the PL app launcher. It is available for Mac also, and then you have to download the image. And this is a chestnut image that I'll show you here in just a second. So we're in here. We've got our SD card reader. Should be there's E, and I'm gonna go over here and check on my other monitor to make sure that is indeed my USB drive, and that is correct. So E is the drive. I've got to find the image, and the image is this chestnut image, which was downloaded again. This is it, where I downloaded IoT Pill app image. And so the chestnut image should be that one right there, disk image. Click open. Now, at this point, you give your device a name. You remember mine was KFC IoT. I'm going to call this SCC IoT 01, and this should be, if you've got multiples that are going to be on your network, I would make them unique. And then password, I'm just going to use our Cisco 123, which I know is not secure, but it's what we're going to use. I'm not going to use Wi-Fi. Now, if you have Wi-Fi at your house, you need to put this in to make sure you're able to do that. I'm actually going to physically connect an Ethernet cable to mine. So I've got a cable here that I'm pulling over. So I'll eventually have a regular cable just because I'm in my office and it's easier to do. But if you're at home, put in your Wi-Fi SSID and put in your Wi-Fi password. At this point, all I have to do is do write disk image, and you get a little thing. You have to allow it to do it. It's going to say it's going to be erased. You want to continue? Yes. And then it's going to sit here and write to this SD card. And it's not super fast, but it's not massively slow either. But you will eventually get a little error message. And again, you just ignore that error message. When you get it, it's not that big a deal. But what it's doing now is writing to that SD card the correct image for our labs. So it's got all the things that are built into it so that we can do the Jupyter networks. We are not notebooks. It's got all the code examples on there. It's got Blockly. It's got all those things in there. So letting that do its thing as I open up my power cable. I'm gonna throw this away again. That was just the Gpio breakout with the ribbon cable that we were using. Throw that in the trash. Now the other difference is, I will show you this. If you've got the ultimate kit, it does come with an HDMI cable. And I'm gonna stop sharing my desktop so we'll have a big. So it does have an HDMI cable. It comes with 330 ohm resistors. Comes with some, I do the math on, but there's other resistors. I think these are, let me see here, from left to right, 1,000 ohm resistors. And then we've got, again, female to male connectors, which you have to rip apart. We've got some LEDs and push buttons. We got a bunch of male to male connectors, and I always tell my students, if I have to tell you why that's a male to male and the other's male to female, we got bigger problems than class. Comes with actually a kind of handy little card here. Let me turn it the right way there. This is the resistor color cable card, which is our color cable card, which is nice. You'll see too, it shows you they do have Arduino boards if you want to buy them from CountyKid. But that's it. So they do have a schematic thing in here too that shows how to read resistor values. I'm at 43% on my other thing. So yes, I'm stalling here, folks. But it shows you how to read resistance values. So like I said, on this one, I will show you something cool about this thing I got my hands on. This thing is able to zoom way in. So now the autofocus doesn't work great, but you can actually see that's the other set of resistors that's in here. So kind of cool. Zoom back out. So that's what I was trying to do with my little.
What kind of document camera did you say that was?
That's actually this is an older Elmo. It's an Elmo
sure.
12ID with a 12x optical zoom. So it's actually pretty neat little, pretty good one. The only problem I had was trying to figure out the the software was built for an older version of Windows, obviously, so it doesn't work great with that. With, excuse me, Windows 10, but it will work if you have the right kind of USB cable. It works just like a webcam. Basically, it's just showing up as another webcam. So again, they've got another thing in here showing the different, and I always had to remember, I have to remember it's this way. Tolerances and those things. I am not an electronics expert, by the way. I think you all know that. But I think it's pretty neat. We're at 70%, folks. It does have a quick start guide, which you pretty much just totally ignore because the quick start guide doesn't, this would only be if you were going to use it outside of the Cisco Academy without the PL app. So, trying to see what this is. I think this is actually the Raspberry Pi documentation that it comes with. So, and it's funny, I was watching a video on somebody unpacking and using the Raspberry Pi, and they were putting on, they talking about a static bag, and they were using a static strap. And yeah, technically I should be using all that, but I didn't. But we are at 86% right into our SD card. Now what we're going to do, if all works correctly, we'll eventually put the SD card, and you'll notice there's a little SD card slot here on the end. So we'll put it back in there. I'll power it up, plug it in the wall over there, power it up, and she should boot up, hopefully, and then we'll be able to access it remotely. You'll notice that the Raspberry Pi has multiple USB ports. It's got an Ethernet adapter. It's got an HDMI out. There's your power, which is a typical, what's that called? A mini USB, I believe. One of the versions of mini USB. And then you've got you do have a soundboard or a sound connector out. All right, and there's where you get it says unable to write config file chestnut text. So let me share this screen. And so you get this error message. And everybody see that?
Yep.
Click OK. Click OK and just wave your hand at it. It's all good. And I'm going to eject it and go over here and get my card. So I do like these little SD card readers like this, these small ones like this. The only problem I have is I typically lose them. So stop this share again, and I'm going to pull out the card from inside here, and we shall place the card into our Raspberry Pi. All right, so we got her in there, got the card in there on the bottom. I'm going to now power it up. Go ahead and put the Ethernet card in it. Or Ethernet connection, not card, Ethernet connection. And we're going to put some juice on it. Are y'all working on yours at the same time? Or y'all just listening to me?
Up to the point of downloading the software.
Okay. It should start the booting process now. You can see, and we'll let y'all kind of catch up then, and we'll see what we can find. Now I'm going to take my card reader and put it back in my box because, like I said, I will lose it, no doubt. So, and the software is not huge, but it's not too small either, especially if you don't have fast internet at home. From my IoT class folder here, desktop. That's not it. In the world did I have it at? Downloads IoT class. Okay. Yeah, the image is what, about 5 gigs, I believe. Maybe a little bit smaller than that, but no, it's only about a gig. The zip archive's about a gig. All right, so let me see what we got here. All right, so now I'm going to share my desktop back over here. Share my screen. And I'm going to add in, so I've set up the device as SCC IoT 01. So I'm going to go over here and add a device name. So I got to add in SCC IoT 01. Do OK. And it is offline, so it has not come up yet. So let's see what it does. Let me make sure I got the cable plugged in over here. Which I do. And by the way, if you're wondering which lab we're doing, it's this one right here. So basically, I've gone through at this point. I've downloaded and installed the Pill app on launcher. All right, I've said set up new device, put in the SD card, pointed it to where that card is. Okay. On theirs it was D, on mine it was E. So we're going through here. And we give it a name, again, device name. Password, we've got Wi-Fi if we're doing that. And then at that point it gets written to it. Now I didn't do this, and if this continues to not work, I'll go down and look to make sure that that chestnut information is actually inside of there. So we'll start the troubleshooting process if it stays offline, which it looks like it's not going to come up. Power back on real quick just to make sure. So boot up. Yeah, I got to find some free space. I've only got 13 gigs free on my entire machine. Okay, so let's go see once this thing's up and running. Now, I'll be quite honest with you. When I first did this the first time, I had trouble with it booting up correctly again. Okay, so let's go into troubleshooting mode. We're going to take power off. We're going to pull the card. We're going to break our fingernail. Put this back in and look and see what we got. We should have a chestnut file on there. That's the text file with the config on it. Upside down. All right, so let's put this in here. Of course, I've got my USB drives where I can't reach them easily anyway. All right, ready? So let's go back over. Cancel that. And let's see. We should be able to see on D. All right, D, let's look at E. What's there? All right, so there we have it. We've got the chestnuts in there, but it didn't write the config file for some reason. Dookie dookie. So we've got notebooks, folders, we got notebooks, we've got course materials, my files, we got all that. We got our course materials. Everything is in there good. But the problem is our D nope, is not working. Should be E is where that should have worked. Let's try it again. Let's just do this. Let's just update it. So let's go in, go to set up new device and update config only. And see if that adds in our chestnut file. 1, 2. Yep. In fact, it did. So for whatever reason, by just doing that update config only, it now wrote the chestnut file in when it was not there before. Okay, now you notice a very simple file, just device name and that. So what I'm hoping now is I can just go in here and close this. Eject that USB drive. You'll get it, and we should be good. It should boot up now and have the name and the be reachable. So if it doesn't work when you do it the first time, just if you get an error message saying it can't write the chestnut.txt file, just plug it back in and do update config only. Let's see if that doesn't fix it. If it doesn't, I'll have to do some more serious troubleshooting. Which will probably require me to back up and punt. I'll stop my share for just a minute while that thing's booting. So how are y'all doing on your end?
Just lovely.
Still working? Still trying?
Just finished downloading.
Okay. So we should do SD cards in. So we got a green light. By the way, it shows here in the lab, the green light is the SD card and the red is the fact that there's power. So we got power, we got the SD card. So let's see. Aha! Let me share my screen. Now at this point, after I did that update config file, which I went back in again and I just put the card back in, and instead of running the full setup, I just clicked on update config only. And now you'll see that I've got SCC IoT 01, 10.102, 10.89. Click connect, and it's going to ask me for my password. And now I've got, should be logged in, should log into it. And you get a little thing saying, do you agree to the PIL app? Basically, yes, I agree. And you're inside of the Raspberry Pi remotely, which is pretty neat. So we are all the way down to the bottom step here where we've connected to it. And you can see the different, when you look at the course materials and the folders, and you've got that in here too. When you look at course materials, my files, under the course materials, you can see all the materials for the different courses that are covered in this, using this particular app. I intro all the way through IoT security. And you can see in here, we've got different labs. In fact, this is one of the labs we're going to do here. We're going to play with that here in just a few minutes. Okay, folks, I'm going to pause everything for just a second. Are there any questions while you're doing this? I'm going to pause the recording. A couple things. Remember, if you get an error message saying it can't write the chestnut.txt file, make sure you update the config only. Now, I checked mine, but if you get that, I would just update the config so you don't have to take it back out and try again. The other thing is you may get an error message inside of Windows saying you need to format the disk. Just ignore that, cancel it. because you don't want to do that, because you will, if you format the disk, you'll get yourself in a bit of a loop, and you'll have to start doing some crazy kind of things to make that happen. All right. So how's everybody doing so far?
Moving
Yay,
moving forward.
moving forward. Okay.
Moving forward.
That's better than not moving forward.
Yes.
It's crawling.
Oh, is it crawling? Downloading is crawling?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Typically, it's not super slow, but I can understand, especially if you got 2 or 3 kids at home trying to download everything too. So I'll let you work on that in a second, and then I'll show you kind of a cool thing here that we can do. I'll go ahead and start kind of walking through since y'all are doing that. Just let me know if you need me to stop while you're working on something. One of the things that's cool about this pill app setup is that the lab you have here, which is making blinky lights with the Raspberry Pi and the pill app. The other thing I want you to realize is any lab that you come across, or any example you come across that uses the GPIO or the typical GPIO pins on a Raspberry Pi and a breadboard, you can make it work using this pill app. You may have to do some finagling, but you can make it work. The cool thing is with this is if you go into the course materials, Introduction to IoT, double click here and actually double click on the lab, it brings the lab up inside of here. So the lab's already, the document's in here, and it also will show you, here's Blockly. So when you start actually getting into it, but I'm going to kind of start walking through the process of at least trying to put the pins in and making it work. Now, whether or not I'll be able to get my hands in here or not will be a whole different story, but let's, what this does is we've got the Raspberry Pi, we've got it connected remotely via our PC, and we're going to try to connect an LED and a resistor to 2 different pins. And in this case, we're going to use, I believe it's pin, let me look, make sure I'm, pin 9 and pin 11. So we're going to have a black jump wire to our ground to pin 9 and the other to pin 11. So I'm actually going to do, I'll try, do it 2 ways. First, I'm going to do it without using the expansion, and then I'll put, or the GPIO, and then I'll put it in there. So let me stop sharing here so you're seeing my view. So I'm going to take, and I'm going to get I had to do the math here to figure out, or the movement. I'm going to take and get a black cable. I'm going to get a red cable, just because red goes faster. We all know that. All right, so we need to connect, first off, we've got an LED, okay? And I'm gonna put the LED and I'm gonna put the long end towards, we'll just use for this, we can just use 43 and 45. So I'm gonna put them in there. Now, remember that on the breadboard, each one of the lines, the sections here, okay, so when I look at 45, all of these down through here are connected together. So I can put things here. Then I'll be able to also put in the resistor so that I give myself a little bit of room, but 43 and 45, so the resistor's in the path for that. So now I'm going to go in here and I'm going to take and find my resistor, which is a 330 ohm resistor. And using our diagram that we've got in our lab, share that just for a second. And I'll come back to my picture here. But we've got we're going to take our resistor and we're going to put it on the, and they're using, by the way, they're saying to use C13 and C14. I'm just using 43 and 45. So you can use any of them as long as you use them in the correct row there. But I'm going to put my resistor into the anode side. Cathode leg is on C13. Okay, and then I'm going to go there. So let me go back over here and stop my sharing. So I'm going to just, to make life easier on me, I'm going to stick this. And you'll notice that you're creating the connection here between the resistor and the leg of the LED. So we're going to go there, and I'm just going to take this all the way over to 35 just because I can. So I'm going to put that down on 35. And like I said, this is not the easiest thing for somebody with spinal cord injury. But hey, I can paint miniatures. I can make this happen. So there's my resistor. I've got it in there. All right. And then now we've got to connect to the Gpio pins on the Raspberry Pi itself. So zoom out a little bit. I got to do some looking here to make sure I get the right ones. All right, so the Gpio 10. So we're looking basically at pin 9 and pin 11. So looking at it from this view, 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th pin over. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to put female end on the here. That's going to go to this side of my resistor. And again, since it's in the 35 row, that's fine. Then we're going to go over to pin 11, which is the one right beside pin 9. So 9, then 10's on the top, and then 11. And this will go up to 45, which will provide a completed circuit. So now we've completed the circuit here, and we should be able to, with that, hopefully, all goes according to plan, we'll use our little Blockly and we'll import in our code. In fact, it may already be here when I go to Blockly. Let me get Blockly pulled up. Blockly is not loading for some reason. Code below, turn the default pipeline go to the visual program cell. So we should be able to go into, all right, there we go. And you had to go in and do, oh, I'm not sharing my screen, am I? I'm a doofus. Okay, so you had to go in here and you had to actually do plus, and then you hit Blockly. At this point, let's see. You got programs. And so there's a couple ways we could do this. We could just cut and paste this in. And maybe the easiest way to do it, just for making it short and easy. The way this is asking you to do it is it's wanting you to actually go in and do the Blockly programming. So we do print text. So we'll do a print. Trying to find the print. It's all the way at the bottom. Text from print, and then you do text, and then you do your text, and then you come in here and you put it together. And of course, LED on pin. In fact, I think I'm just going to cheat and grab this right here and try to put code in. So let's just delete this. Just dump this in here. All right. And let's see if we can run this code. Aha! I love it when a good plan comes together. By the way, I cheated greatly. Instead of using Blockly, I just stuck the code in. I copied and pasted it from over here. But if you will see, when I stop sharing now, we have a blinking LED. Okay, now if I go into the code and I change it, so one of the cool things here you can do, again, is just changing the sleep timer, sleep 1, and I'm gonna run this again. When I run it, we should get a different, should change here in a second, eventually. So stop it, and then we'll run it again. And I broke something. There it goes. You'll notice I changed the timer. I went in here and I changed the timer from 0.5 to 1 second. And so now you see it's staying on longer. So it's staying on for longer. I'm gonna change it again. I'm gonna change it to 5. I'm gonna stop it. And I'm gonna run it again. And you should eventually get it when it gets loaded in there and starts working. It should stay on for 5 seconds and then blink off for just a second. Boop, yep. And now, honestly, anything that you wanted to do, when we go in here, and I'm gonna share my screen again, any code that uses these GPIOs and uses a, providing power, turning power on, turn power off, you should be able to just put it in here and have it be delivered to your Raspberry Pi. Now, the cool thing again is it's being delivered remotely. You're not physically connected to it. So these could be even set up, wherever you want them to be. It's kind of neat there. I am going to do something though. I'm going to now try, and I'm not going to promise you I'm going to succeed awesomely on this, but I'm going to try my best. I'm going to go in and see if I can't use the GPIO expansion board. So let's go in here and put this here on. And I think it's got to be like this, actually. Could be wrong, but I think that's right. And we'll know in a hurry because it won't work. But we're going to put that in there like that. And that's so it can go out the side easily. And you can put the case back on it. And then we're going to take this and we'll have to put that. Well, that ain't going to be good, is it? That's the way it's going to be, though, because that's the way you got to put that card that in there in order for it to do that. Oops. I should put it on the other side. In hindsight, I'll probably change that, but for right now, we'll do it like this. Let's get our cables. So now we've got a male to male. So we're going to go from pin 9. So 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Hold on, I don't have this thing in here good. Y'all still with me? You're awful quiet.
We're working away.
All right. So 1.
Got to the point where I'm writing to the SD card. So
Okay.
I'm making progress.
Making progress. So that should be 9. If I'm correct. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, which is our ground, which that should come out to, again, my resistor. The next one over should be the GPIO pin 17, which provides power. Goes out to 45. Now I'm going to place this into the GPIO expansion. Yep, she's going to work. And then now I'm going to run run it, and hopefully it's going to work. If not, I may have it backwards. Okay, so let's stop this, interrupting kernel, and let's run this. Okay, so 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So, all right, give me a second here, folks, as I try to see what I got messed up. 1, 1. That's it. That's correct. So it's 9 to that side of the resistor. So 1. Man, this is hard to do with my hands. Okay. That should be it. And then the next one is pin 17, which is correct. Gpio pin 17, which is the next one. And then that should provide power. I think I had it backwards. I had it in the wrong place. Let's try this again. Oops, if I actually get to the thing. So stop it, and let's run it. Okay, negative Ghost Rider, pattern is full. All right, well, remove these so I don't blow anything up. That has to go that way though, so let's switch this. Very possible that I have, I obviously didn't read this part ahead of time. That's why it's called tinkering, right? So 9 should be right there beside 17. Let me count them again. Oh, wrong cable. 1, 5, 7. That goes there. And then 17 should be directly beside it. Okay. Let's try again. Well, we know it's working because I know my code works because I got that. But I can't get that to work with the external Gpio, so I had to play with that a little bit and see what we're gonna have to do a little more research on that one. Because I know, looking at this, that is right. Because it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th
There's,
one.
I didn't see how you had it plugged in on the Raspberry Pi. They don't have labeled the pin 1 labeled, but there's one of the pins, a square. So I was assuming that was pin 1 on the right.
It should be, yep. If you look at the board, pin 1, okay, if we're looking at this right here, let me turn it this way, okay. Pin 1 is right there.
Yeah, that's what I saw too. I thought.
So that's pin 1, so I know that. So it should be, and the way this thing's set up is it's got a slot here.
Yeah.
There's only one way that can go in. And I was figuring again, it would have to be like this, but pin 1 would be like that because that should be 1 with a red piece. And that's the way I had it, and it still didn't work. But let me try it again. Let me not give up completely yet. But let me go back. I want to test just to make absolutely sure that I hadn't messed something up. There's 9 to here. And then this is drop it. The Gpio pin, which is 17. But it's actually right there. Yep, that's gonna work. That's gonna run the code there, should. Or maybe not. Oh yeah, there it goes. Okay, so I got that right. So we know that's right. I'm just gonna make it blink quickly because I want it to not fool me. Stop that. That's right. Make it blink quickly. All right, so we're good there. Stop that. Now, should be exact same thing here. So it should be 5th and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th and 6th. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5th and the 6th, which is it'll be 17 there. Let me count that again because I can be hard obscene. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, correct, and 6. So, and then now, since that is the red piece, that should be pin 1 should be the way I understand ribbon cables. And again, I'm not an electronics expert, but the red should be pin 1. So hopefully I won't get electrocuted and nothing to blow up. Okay, so there's that. So now let's run this thing. Well, folks, I'm getting nothing. Highly disappointed, highly disappointed. That should be the way it works, though. So let me try flipping this. Yeah, I know you're not supposed to do this when it's running, but sue me.
You sound like a technician.
Yeah. It blows up. I'm going to cross connect anything, which is also a possibility. Oh, you know what it is? No, that shouldn't be it, because that's all connected together. But just to make sure that's not what it is, let's not cross the. That shouldn't matter though. It shouldn't matter at all. Let's put it all in here like this, so that I can have. So let's make sure I don't do this wrong. That should provide power there. And huh. Well, I have obviously got to do some checking on that Gpio board because me and the Gpio board are not getting along. Which is disappointing. Wow. The cable's not easy to get in and out either. Because this should work just fine the way it is. Gotta keep doing the math here. I get it downloaded and set up.
Yes. The one thing that I had a question on, like it splits out using the PL app. Like it splits. You end up, even though you have the one USB, it splits it into 2 USB drives. Did I miss
Right,
that?
it does. Yeah, you just have to ignore that though.
And just
It does split it into like a D and an E.
Yeah.
And then your E is your chestnut file. That's where your file's at.
Okay.
And so if you don't have a chestnut file in E, then you need to do the update.
Yep. No, I think that's all looking right then. That was the only thing that.
Yeah, that's what happened on mine too. And that's the weird thing. It does that, and you're like, well, and the other thing you'll get is you'll get the error message saying that you need to format it, and then you'll sit there and if you format it, oh, things go way south. Yeah, don't format it, because if you do, you have to call it. It can cause issues. I mean, you can get it back, but it's just you have to keep going around and around to get it to work. The big thing I've learned is just update the config file, and that usually, if you can't find that chestnut file on there, it's not going to work, because that's what it uses to find it in the app. Now that should be, the code should now be working. And that should get me back to a blinky light. Yeah. So I got to play with that. I got to play with the Gpio board, folks. Not real sure. I have to do some looking on that one, because that should have worked, because I'm plugging the same ports in. I just got something messed up. One of the things I want y'all to do too, I mean, both of you have taught some IoT classes and done some things. I want you to be on the lookout for different things we could do inside of here. I mean, there's all kind of little things we could do, as long as you can. I mean, if there's a Python script to make things blink and make things happen, you should be able to make it work just right off of this Raspberry Pi. And the good news is, again, you don't have to have physical access to it to dump your Python scripts on there. You can just put them in here and run them.
That part of it.
Say what, Susan?
I like that part, that you don't have to have the access to it like you were talking about. But
Yeah.
we can
Just
that's
remotely.
not
I mean, anything that
classes.
anything you can dump in here, you should be able to do it and make it happen on the code. And we're seeing a Python there. So I mean, there's basically anything that you can even save it, save a checkpoint, new cells, cut cell. I mean, you can do all kind of stuff here. So kernel restart, clear widgets. These are all different using the PL app notebooks, which by the way, we did skip that. We skipped one of the labs. We skipped doing the PL app notebook. So you can work on that when you get it set up too. All right, I'm gonna stop the recording.